Welcome to the state of Ohio. I'm Karen Kassler. Nearly 2 hours past the midnight deadline on Wednesday, Governor Mike DeWine put out a statement saying he'd signed the 2-year $75 billion state budget while striking out 14 items. Statehouse correspondent Jo Ingles has details of the budget and of those vetoes.
The vast majority of things we agree with this legislature. We have a common mission. It's a bipartisan bill. We're very, very happy with it.
The budget signed by Governor DeWine includes $1.7 billion in tax breaks and changes, including a 3% income tax cut, a new school funding plan based largely on 60% property taxes and 40% income, changes in the Step Up to Quality program for child care providers who serve families getting state assistance, and direct state funding of vouchers, rather than the money coming from school districts' budgets as kids leave for charter schools. DeWine says the budget will put a record $20.6 billion into K-12 education, including $564 million in new funding. But the more than $1 billion for mental health, counseling, food programs, and other wellness initiatives wasn't separated in the budget, but was folded into the overall formula. And the budget doesn't include language that phases in the Fair School Funding Plan over 6 years, which means future lawmakers are not obligated to it. And the Step Up to Quality providers, who were expecting to have to earn 3 stars by 2025, will only have to earn 1, and a committee will study the program. The budget also puts $500 million into cleaning up brownfields and demolition of blighted buildings, $250 million into grants for broadband, and removes the ban on municipalities operating their own broadband programs, $170 million to the H2 Ohio Lake Erie Cleanup Program, more than $500 million for Children's Services, Foster Care, and Adoption Program, $61 million for food banks, including $12 million in federal COVID money, $15 million for law enforcement training, and $10 million for body cameras. Most of DeWine's vetoes were technical, but one big item of note, he vetoed the provision that would erase COVID-19 violations by bars and refund them for their fines.
So it really is not fair, or would not be fair, for the 99+% of retail people who did a phenomenal job, who played by the rules, did everything they could to keep their customers safe, for us to turn around right now and the few who had to be cited by our liquor control agents to say to them, there's no consequences for what you did. That would simply not be right. It would send a horrible, horrible, horrible message.
DeWine also struck the proposal to allow the House Speaker and Senate President to hire private attorneys in lawsuits over the new congressional and statehouse district maps. He wrote that lawmakers intervening in lawsuits is virtually unheard of, and that's the duty of the governor and the attorney general. Perhaps the veto with the widest-ranging impact is the redo of the procurement process for Medicaid managed care organizations, which advocates said would have caused big delays.
We will provide additional support under this plan, under this new bidding, to children with complex behavioral health needs, as well as adults with chronic conditions. The item that we vetoed put at risk the overall, put at risk the overhaul of a carefully designed plan to improve the lives of the most vulnerable Ohioans. That is why we took this action.
Families in the new Ohio RISE program for children with complex and costly behavioral and mental health issues had said that rebid could put their kids in danger. But DeWine let stand non-monetary provisions Democrats and other advocates had asked him to veto, such as preventing doctors who work with abortion providers who got certain state waivers to operate from working in hospitals that get state dollars. He also didn't veto a ban on public-private partnerships to do voter education and registration, and he let stand a conscience clause, allowing medical professionals to refuse to provide treatment if it violates their personal beliefs.
This simply puts in statute what the practice has been anyway. And the practice has been, if there is something that let's say the doctor is against abortions, the doctor is not doing abortions. If there's other things that maybe a doctor has a conscience problem with, it gets worked out. Somebody else does those things. So, this is not a problem, has not been a problem in the state of Ohio, and I do not expect it to be a problem.
The bill allowing college athletes to profit from their name, image, and likeness is part of the budget, though it takes effect immediately through an executive order DeWine signed this week. The budget legalizes electronic instant bingo for fraternal and veterans organizations, which was part of the disputed sports betting bill in the Senate. And a provision of the budget requires schools notify parents if sex education goes beyond abstinence only. The financial items in the budget go into effect immediately. The policy items become law in October. Jo Ingles, Statehouse News Bureau.
The fiscal year ended with a surprise surplus, a windfall that's over $3 billion more than the deficit the state had predicted months ago.
OBM closed fiscal year 21 with tax revenues $1.5 billion above the yearly estimate. That was led by both categories of our sales tax.
But that unexpected money can also be attributed to federal COVID dollars, both direct money to the state as well as stimulus payments to individual taxpayers. The budget also directs $460 million for grants to help bars, restaurants, hotels, entertainment venues, and other businesses hurt by the COVID-19 pandemic. This week, DeWine also signed a bill setting up how to spend $2.2 billion federal COVID dollars from the American Rescue Plan. That includes $1.5 billion to pay the loan the feds extended to Ohio to pay unemployment benefits when the state's fund went broke during the pandemic.